Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So let's recite together 3 times Namo Tassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Homage to the sublime, the victorious, the totally self-enlightened one. So today we have a lot to talk about. There are a lot of very interesting mental processes that we are going to go through today. But before that, we'll quote the Dhammapada verse. Dhammapada verse 278. The Buddha said, Save Sankara Dukkha. So all conditioned things are unsatisfactory. Now, all conditioned things. What are all conditioned things? Conditioned things are nama and rupa, right? So these conditioned things here are things that arise depending on other conditions. That means nothing arises just because or just by itself. So everything depends on some other thing for its arising. For example, an apple, from a seed to become an apple, it depends on so many conditions, as we all know. It depends on the soil, water, rain, nutrition, the temperature. There are some good conditions. There are some also bad conditions, bad weather or insects and everything. So everything in a way related or dependent on other things in nature. So in the same way as we have seen so far, nama and rupa also depend on many conditions for it to arise. Later on in chapter 9, we will study the conditionality, and by that time it will be very clear of what kind of conditions there are and for mind and for matter to arise, what depending on what, right? So with the dependent origination and the conditionalities, that will become more clear. But now we know that mind, each type of mind also is a combination of chitta and cetasikas. For it to arise, it also depends on not only the mind itself, it depends also on the sensitive matter, pasada rupa. Also, we need an object. So visible object is also necessary. Then we have lights, and we also need attention and the contact. So everything depends on some other conditions for its arising, like eye consciousness in this case. And how about metta? Now for metta, it also have different kind of origin of metta. In chapter 6, we are going to look at that. We have the temperature originated metta, nutrient originated metta, karma originated metta, or mind originated metta. So for easy understanding, let's say for temperature generated metta, let's say when it is very hot outside, we are sweating. So sometimes some kind of metta are generated depending on temperature. And obviously, by food, the food that we eat, there are nutriments inside every kind of material property, like the rupa, let's say the carrots. People say carrots are good for the eyes. Yeah, so there are these nutrients that are inside the food that is also one type of rupa that is generated by nutriment. Then, of course, we have kamaja rupa, the rupa that is generated because of karma. Now, this, for example, chaku pasada, this eye sensitivity is not generated by food. It's also, by nutrient, is also not generated by temperature, but generated by karma. So depending on the karma of that being, then he will be born with or without, or how good his eyesight. So this pasada rupa of the person is actually a kamaja rupa. It depends on the karma. It's born or produced by karma. And then we have mind producing metta as well. An easy example will be when a person and he or she is shy, at that time, then maybe you see like the face become red, And so this kind of matter are generated by the mind. So mind and matter, both of them depends on different conditions for its generation and for its existence, right? So nama and rupa, both of them are conditioned. It is not free from any kind of conditions or causes. So in that way, having this understanding, we go back to the Dhammapada verse. It says, Sabe sankhara dukkha. So all conditioned things are unsatisfactory. That means that everything, mind and matter, all that are constantly arising and ceasing is dukkha. So the five aggregates itself, mind and matter itself is dukkha. Now, have we ever think about like this mind and this matter always arising and passing, arising and passing, arising and passing? It is so tiring. Like, have we ever wished for the mind to stop for a little while and just give us a break? Yeah. So I think maybe some of us have this idea, at least I do. So like, is it possible even for the mind to stop for a little bit? But not even when we are sleeping, right? When we are sleeping, even if we are not conscious, bhavanga is still arising, although we don't notice, but still the mind and matter, they never stop. Throughout samsara, it just continue arising and passing, arising and passing, arising and passing. But actually, there is a time that it is possible for the mind to pause a little bit. So that is what we are going to look at today. And that is called the Nirodha-samāpatti. So besides parinibbana, which is the total enlightenment, a final enlightenment, or asaññā-satta, have you heard about the asaññā-satta? That's a kind of a Brahma being. They practiced... They arrived to that realm because of the practice of the Rupa Vachara Jhana. So this being, this is in the 31 realm of existence, there is one realm where the being there is only with metta and without mind. So no citta and no cetasika arise there. They only have rupa there. So this being, they arrive there because of their fifth Rupa Vachara Jhana, when they practice that, and that with the mind thinking that, actually, mind is the problem. If there is no mind, then there is no problem at all. Like rupa is not the trouble. The trouble is the mind. So if they have this kind of idea and then they practice, the mind is so strong and so powerful in that jhana, then with that, the idea that I don't like to have mind at all because mind is the troublemaker. So without mind, it will be peaceful. It will be everything will be calm and good. So with that kind of idea, then in the next life, when they are reborn with that powerful jhana, then they will be able to be reborn into that realm that is called asaññā-satta. Saññā, as you know, perception in Pali. A is the negation. So asaññā, non-perception. So non-perception, satta is being. So it is sometimes translated as non-perceiving being. So no saññā, this being. That means actually not only no saññā, but saññā is like the representation of mind, whole mind, no? So citta and cetasika, everything, no? So in this realm, these beings, they only have rupa, so they are born like a statue. They don't have mind. Citta and cetasika do not arise in them during that lifetime. Well, later on today, we will also talk a little bit more about asaññā-satta. But what I want to say here is that only during the lifetime of an asaññā-satta or parinibbana, final nibbana, and this special Nirodha-samāpatti does the mind actually stop a little bit, cease to arise for a little bit. Okay, so in order to attain this Nirodha-samāpatti, let's take a look of what needs to be done and who can attain this. This Nirodha-samāpatti is translated as the attainment of cessation process. Nirodha is cessation. So this Nirodha-samāpatti has to be attained through both the practice of samatha and vipassana. So this type of viti can only be attained by the power of both of them. So not only samatha or only vipassana, it must be both. Now, Also, the person must be an enlightened being. So we know that there are 4 stages of enlightenment. We have Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arhata being. So 4 stages of enlightenment. But for Nirodha-samāpatti, for this attainment of cessation process, only an Anagami and Arhata is able to attain this Nirodha-samāpatti. Because as we all know, the Sotapanna and Sakadagami, they has not yet totally eradicated sense desire, right? And so their samadhi is not yet strong enough because this sense desire is a major hindrance to the attainment of jhana. No? Of course, the Sotapanna and the Sakadagami, they can also attain jhana. But for Nirodha-samāpatti, for the total cessation of the mind for some moment, this is a more sophisticated process. So the samadhi must be even stronger. So for a Sotapanna and a Sakadagami who hasn't totally eradicated sense desire yet, the concentration is said to be not strong enough. But on the other hand, then Anagami and Arhat, they have totally uprooted sense desire. So for them, the samadhi is extremely strong, and therefore it is enough for them to enter this attainment of cessation. Okay, so only Anagami and Arahata who also have the jhana practice can attain this Nirodha-samāpatti. So let's take a look of what this Anagami person and the Arahata person, what they have to practice, how they practice in order to attain the cessation process. The Nirodha-samāpatti. Now, first, he has to enter the first rupa vachara, the rupa jhana, the samapajana process. So, manodawara, avajana, parikama, upachara, anuloma, gotrabhu. Then he practiced for the first jhana. So, first rupa jhana. So, jhana will arise. He entered this jhana-samāpatti process first. Then later on, then he emerged from this process and he practiced vipassana. Right after that. Now, in this vipassana practice, he takes these jhavanas, he will take the jhana chitta and the jhana factors. He will contemplate this jhana and jhana factors as anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Then he will practice vipassana in this way. So taking, let's say this is the first jhana, right? So taking the first jhana chitta and the vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata, all these mental jhana factors to be anicca, dukkha, and anatta, and he practice vipassana in this way. Then after that, then he enter into jhana again. Now this time he enters into the second rupa vachara jhana. So step by step, one by one. Yeah. So he entered the second rupa vachara jhana, and then he will practice and then say jhana for some time, and then again he will emerge. Then he will practice vipassana again. So alternately, he practiced jhana, vipassana, jhana, vipassana, until he reached the second arupa jhana. After that, then he will enter the third arupa vachara jhana. And then after entering this jhana, this time, then he will emerge from the jhana, but this time, instead of practicing vipassana, he will make a determination, a resolution process. So kama, jhavana, manodawara, viti will arise. He will resolve that he will emerge from that Nirodha-samāpatti if something dangerous is going to happen to him or to his properties. So he is preparing himself to get into the Nirodha-samāpatti, right? So in the Nirodha-samāpatti, because chitta and chittasika will cease to arise for some time in that period. So if danger arises to him, let's say if the monastery is on fire, then he will not know and he will not be able to escape, no? So some kind of danger happens. In that case, then he resolved in advance in the mind that if any danger will arise, then he will emerge from that Nirodha-samāpatti. And the second one is in case the sangha expects him or her. So if the Sangha needs him for whatever reason, then he resolved in his mind, if the Sangha needs me, may I emerge from this Nirodha-samāpatti. Or in the time of the Buddha, if the Buddha summons, if the Buddha wants to see me, then may I also emerge from this Nirodha-samāpatti. And the last one is, if his lifespan is to be completed before that 7 days, let's say, then may I also emerge from this Nirodha-samāpatti. So in this, and he makes resolution in these 4 cases, even if he does not complete the whole time that he has decided to stay in Nirodha-samāpatti, usually, my teacher said, usually it will be 7 days, because that's the amount of time which a person can sustain. I mean, human being can sustain without food, without nutriment. So in that case, then usually they will stay for that period of time, 7 days, and no water and no food during that period of time. So if any of these 4 thing happens in between in this period of time, then he resolved in his mind that may I emerge from this Nirodha-samāpatti whenever needed. Right? Okay, so then he makes a resolution in this mind door process. Then after that, after this process, now he will enter into the 4th arupa jhana, which is the highest jhana, right? And in this process, he is actually entering to the Nirodha-samāpatti process. Now, what happens here is, it will be bhavanga, then manodora vajana, chitta, mind or averting, parikama, upachara, nuloma, gotrabu, and then 2 of the 4th arupavachara jhana chitta will arise, and after that, mind will cease to arise. It will stop for the period of time. Okay, so let's say the 7 days have completed. Then he or she is to emerge from that Nirodha-samāpatti process. Then what happened is that after that period of time, phala chitta will arise, and then it will go back to bhavanga stream. And then the usual mental process, other processes will arise. Now, this phala chitta, what kind of phala chitta? Depending if the person is an anagami person, it will be anagami phala. If the person is an arahat, then it will be arahata phala. And the jhana chittas, if the person is an anagami person, so not totally enlightened, then that jhana will be kusala, no? Kusala 4th arupa vachara jhana. And if the person is an arahat, then it will be kriya chitta, kriya jhana, no? So that is the time when the anagami or the arahat, they totally rest the mind. Let's say it is totally in peace. No mind arising at that time. So they it's like a vacation. It's like a big vacation for the being, for the noble person, to rest and not have this constant arising and ceasing. Now, during Nirodha-samāpatti, then what happened with the body of the person, of the anagami or the arahat? Now, mind, chitta and cetasika will totally cease to arise. But how about rupa? Now, as we said, in the body, there are temperature-produced, nutrient-produced, karma-produced, and mind-produced matter, yeah? So in the case of Nirodha-samāpatti, mind-produced matter will also cease to arise during that period of time. Because very obviously, no mind arise, so mind-produced matter cannot arise also, no? But then this person is, but then the temperature-produced, nutrient-produced, and the karma-produced, they will continue. They will continue because the person is not dead. Yeah, so the karma produced rupa, and the temperature rupa and the nutrient produced rupa, it will continue. Now, then what is the difference between a dead person, let's say? Then for that person, karma produced matter will also cease to arise, and nutrient produced matter will also cease to arise. So what is left in the body is actually only temperature produced rupa that will be there. Okay, so since he is not dead, then the other types of chitta will also, other types of rupa, temperature, nutriment, and karma will still continue to arise and passes. And when he emerged from this Nirodha-samāpatti, then phala chitta arise and bhavanga fall back to bhavanga stream before other process arise. And that time, mind-produced matter will also again arise because mind is there again. No? So this is how, this what happened in the Nirodha-samāpatti. So again, Nirodha-samāpatti has to be attained with the practice of both samatha meditation as well as vipassana meditation. So only samatha is not possible, only vipassana also not possible. The person has to practice alternately in order to attain this Nirodha-samāpatti. Okay, until here, is it clear? Do you have any question? No? No question? Yes? Yes. Edith, yes, please.
I just wanted to ask you if you heard about I mean, we actually in our tradition use this word cessation. May cessation happen even though we are not anagami or arhant. So did you ever heard this word used for fruition attainment maybe, or
for what? Sorry, for what attainment?
For fruition or for
yes.
just path attainment, a determination for path attainment maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, cessation actually, this Nirodha-samāpatti is, Nirodha, this word can be used in many contexts, no? So depending on where it comes up, so it can mean different things. So in Nirodha-samāpatti is the cessation of the arising of mind, chitta and cettasika for that period of time, for this specific for specific mental process. But of course, Nirodha can, in other places, can also mean the cessation of defilements. So in that case, as you said, it can be magga, phala, and the attainment of nibbana, no? That is also possible. So not specifically only this Nirodha-samāpatti.
Yeah, that clarifies it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Let's go to Abhiññā. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of Abhiññā, the direct knowledge it is translated as. So Abhiññā, this, although it is translated as direct knowledge, is actually the fifth jhana specially developed. So it is not an ordinary fifth jhana. After the yogi gets into the fifth jhana, then he has to specially develop it in order for it to become Abhiññā. So a person who wants to perform the Abhiññā, he must have all the all types of jhanas first. He must first be very skillful with those jhanas. Now, for some being, if their mind is very sharp, then they do not have to be specially developed, but this Abhiññā, this direct knowledge, or this supernormal power, sometimes translated as, will simultaneously arise in them after they attained the highest jhana. Okay, so let's see. Now, Abhiññā is actually the Paññā, is a kind of wisdom associated with the fifth Rupa Vajara jhana, Kusala or Kriya Chitta. That is what is actually Abhiññā. Now, for Abhiññā, there are 7 types of different kind of direct knowledge or wisdom. The first one is called the Diva-Chakku. Maybe you have heard about it. So Diva-Chakku is translated as the divine eye. That is the knowledge of the knowledge that enables a person to see very subtle things or very coarse things far or near, and also in other realms, other planes as well. But obviously, not with the eye, but with the mind. Yeah, that not this physical eye cannot see, but in the mind he can see all kinds of different objects. Whether it is far or near, even in other realms, etc. So this is the first type of supernormal power or direct knowledge, Abhiññā. Now, the second type is called the Divasota, divine ear. So divine ears enable the person to hear subtle or coarse sound far or near in the same way, even in different realm also possible. Then we have another type of Abhiññā that is called Iddhivida. So translated as various supernormal power. So that is the power, for example, power of creating forms. Or he can duplicate many of himself or herself. Also, have you heard about Dipama? And yeah, maybe many of you, yes, I saw. So it is said that Dipama has this Abhiññā, and she can duplicate herself. It is said in the records of people who knew her. So that's one type of the Abhiññā power. And also other types of Abhiññā include like flying through the sky or walking on water, or diving into the earth, or like coming through the wall, or emerging from the ground, and like all this kind of special power is possible. There's also one kind of Abhiññā is called the Iddhivida. Concerning this Iddhivida, later on we'll talk a little bit more about it. Okay, so let's continue introducing the different kinds of Abhiññā first. The next type is called Parichitta Vijanana, or Cheto Pariya Jnana. So that's the ability to read the mind of others. So it's know the mind of other people. So in this case, it's not like the drawing or like this illustration that I read, like there is no thought bubbles actually, but the person, then he is able to see the chitta that is arising in the mind of other beings. So therefore he knows what is happening in the mind of another person, right? So this is another type. So it's very amazing actually, like what the mind can do. Like when it is really, really well developed, it is so powerful. Mind is so powerful. It can do so many things and know so many things. Okay, then the next one is called Pube Niwasanusati, the ability to remember former existence. So he can know one's former existence and the former world in which he has lived. So he will remember, he can remember, in this past life, I was this being, and then this was my mother, this was my father, and then I lived, and then what I did, and then in that past life, what I did, and then because of this karma, then I died, and then I was reborn into another life. So in this remembering former existence is also one type of Abhiññā. Okay, then we have another one is called Yata Kammupaga Jnana, the knowledge of rebirth according to one's action. So this power lets the person see beings in the 31 planes of existence and knowing their respective karma which have given rise to their rebirth. So this person that has this Abhiññā, he can see this person, why is he reborn into, let's say, the Deva realm, what he did, what good karma he did in order for him or her to be reborn there. So he can know this kind of different results, but also not just for this direct knowledge, not only rebirth, not only dying and rebirth, even during lifetime, say a person, he won the lottery, so he can know also what kind of good karma he has done in the past life, what kind of karma leads to this kind of result in this lifetime. Or if a person that he got sick, then also with this jnana, with this special knowledge, the person also can know why this person got sick, or like what kind of karma he did in the past in order for this to arise. So this one is to know the person's rebirth as well as the karma according to his own action. So this is another type of Abhiññā. Then we have one last type, is called Anagatamsa Jnana, the knowledge of the future. So this power allows the person to know future existence and future worlds. So these are the 7 types of Abhiññā, direct knowledge. So as a recap, we have Diva Chaku, divine eye, Diva Sota, divine ear, the Iriwida, there are different kinds of supernormal power, like walking on the water, duplicating oneself, and going through the wall, and all these different powers. And then we have the knowing the mind of others, and knowing the cost, or knowing past lives, and knowing the rebirth and reason of which karma leads to that rebirth, or leads to some kind of different situation that any person is encountering, and the power to know the future as well. Yes, Edith?
So the power to know the future, is it only related to rebirth, or also to like, I don't know, like 10 minutes from now, this and that
What is going
will
to happen?
Like,
yeah.
yes.
And
like prediction.
It is possible to know more, like not just about rebirth, but he can know what is going to happen, and so on. Now this is kind of like, I asked my teacher before, long time ago, like how does it work? Because depending on because I mean, what happened in the future depends on what we do now. So it is not written, it is not fate, no? So it is not like decided. So how could a person know, like, if, like, what am I going to do next, like how this is going to happen, because it is not fixed. Then my teacher, he says that these beings, like they know because they let's say the Buddha, he knows the future because he sees the process of the arising and the passing of the mind. Then he can know what's gonna happen after so quickly, after this chitta, after this one, like how it arises, like what causes is there, and how is it going to happen. Say in the time when our Buddha, Gautama the Buddha, when he was still the bodhisattva, before when he becomes the bodhisattva, the former Buddha, he gave a prediction also in after how many, for Asankeyas 100,000 kappa, then you will be reborn as a prince called Siddhartha Gautama, and in that lifetime you will become the Buddha. So that kind of knowledge that he knows, he sees, like in the future, what's going to happen. Yes, Amar?
This knowledge about the self only, or the entire worldly phenomena?
You mean the future?
Like astrology, these guys also predict futures, right? It's not that kind of knowledge, right?
No, not astrology. Astrology is I think like this one is called direct knowledge because he really sees. So he is not trying to guess.
About the self only, right? Or
about other beings as well. Just as I said now, the former Buddha, he knew that Gautama the Buddha, Sumedha, in that lifetime, the Bodhisattva, he's going to become the Buddha in 4 Asankeyas 100,000 kappas, no? So the former Buddha, that he knows, that he can see that what is going to happen in the future. That's why he can tell, not only about himself, about the others.
That about only like individual beings, but I'm talking about the worldly phenomena, right?
He can know also. He can know also.
Like Nostradamus, like who predicted like this happened. That I don't think that's related to this kind of knowledge, right? That the predicting future, right? That
he can know what is going to happen. Yeah, but of course, this the predictions that you just talked about, I'm not sure if this person has Abhiññā or not. Right? So it's very hard to tell whether they are guessing or whether they really see it, or how, we cannot say. But a person with the Abhiññā is possible to see what's going to happen in the future.
Okay.
Yes, Edith?
You also mentioned ability and Abhiññā with knowing your past existences, and I'm just thinking that I immediately remember that many children remember their past lives, and and even predicting the future, like it is possible, right? Without this Abhiññā, for a normal or ordinary person to predict the future and also like just remember without these abilities, basically without the abhiññās?
Now, for children who remember their past life, I have asked my teacher this question before. Then obviously they do not have abhiññā for these children. That is not abhiññā. So these children, when they remember past life, my teacher says that it is because that past life or those kind of event is very strong. Like they are, how can I say, the impression of that event or of that lifetime is very strongly impressed in the mind of that person. So they keep remembering that. So it like the mind can remember that, but also these children, they do not remember like 100 past lives ago or something. So usually it's the like immediate past life, what happened or something like that. And devas also, because of their mind, the mind is sharp, they also can know like what happened in their past life, why were they reborn as a deva, all this. So it is also possible without abhiññā, but with abhiññā power, it is also possible. It is also one way to know past lives. And also about knowing the future. So I cannot say it very certainly of some people who predict the future, how they know it. No, if they have the abhiññā, they know it through abhiññā power, or they are just guessing, or they do a different analysis of data, and then they say according to weather this is going to happen or that is going to happen, or I don't know. So there can be many ways. Whether it is, that's why this is called direct knowledge, abhiññā, because they really directly see mind and matter. It takes the ultimate reality, like the chitta of other person or something, the object of the mind to know. So it's they directly know. Sometimes a person who is very, very empathetic, they can also kind of like feel or know what the other person is thinking. But that he is guessing is not direct knowledge. He do not directly take the mind, the chitta of that other person as object. But sometimes what they think the other person is thinking might be right, but not directly. No, so it's like guessing or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So once I asked my teacher if it's possible with, for example, when someone becomes a sotapanna, that if they develop these abhiññās in previous lives, that those like suddenly with enlightenment could come to the surface. So I mean, just that you may not need to develop it in this life if you become enlightened, and it just apparently it just will come to you.
Now, abhiññā comes with the practice of samatha meditation, right? The person must have all the jhanas. Now, for a person who is enlightened, then it is easier for that person to attain, if he has not already attained jhana before he got enlightened. If not, then it is easier for him to attain jhana, because his mind is already with much less defilement, and so concentration or the hindrances for them is easier to suppress. So to attain the jhana is easier. And also for different types of beings, sometimes after their attainment of the highest jhana, of the arupavachara jhana, then immediately, as you said, then this power comes simultaneously together. So this wisdom, they already know, but not all the time, and maybe not all. So maybe some person, after he attained the fourth jhana, depending on many different factors, then he might have divine eye, but he might not have divine ear, and then he might not know the future. He might have some of those, but maybe not all, or maybe all. So depending on the person. And some person, after attaining the highest jhana, still he do not get any abhiññā. That's also possible. Or some person after attaining the highest jhana, then he wants to get some type of abhiññā, then he needs to practice again. For example, if a person attained the highest jhana with anapana, let's say, with anapana, so that's his meditation object. So if he wants to attain other types of, let's say, create things, create some objects or something, then he must practice. He doesn't have abhiññā that comes spontaneously. Then he must practice after attaining the fifth jhana, highest jhana. Then he must practice with different objects, with kasina object. So before he used to practice his fifth jhana with anapana, no, breathe in and breathe out. But now he has to practice also all kinds of kasina object. If he wants to be able to produce water, that he has to practice with the abo kasina, the water kasina. He wants to produce earth, he needs to practice the earth kasina, and so on. So it really depend on case by case by that specific individual, whether the wisdom and his practice, like what happens with the abhiññā.
Yes.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yes.
Apart, please.
Yes, I would like to have two questions about the abhiññās, if it's okay. So one question would be, when the Buddha started to teach the Abhidhamma and then he saw the cognitive processes and so on, I would like to have one specific question here. Like, for example, when he attained stream entry, once eternal, arahant, and then he became the Buddha. But in the time when he experienced the enlightenment processes of each stage, in those times he could not know exactly how many moments, right? Because in those moments he would experience Nibbana, and then he wouldn't know how many moments of Phala and the Gotra already taking Nibbana as the object. So did he understand it by direct knowledge that actually indeed there are only 2 moments of Phala, but there can be 3 if the mind is sharp? Or did he see it on other beings who attained and then he interferentially understood? Or was it a direct knowledge of understanding the cognitive process of enlightenment, for example?
You mean when did the Buddha understood that?
Yes, if it was a direct knowledge, because what I understand is that while he attained that, he experienced Nibbana, and in that moment, he could not know for how many moments, right? Because he was absorbed in that. Yes.
How I understand is that the Buddha, in order to become a Buddha, that his wisdom must be a supreme wisdom. So his once he attained the Buddhahood, the wisdom that comes together with that is it's so big. He's like all knowing, no? He can know everything. So of course he might have all this abhiññā knowledge by himself, but also his how can I say, the Buddha's wisdom is incomparable, and he can know everything. So I don't think he needs to use the abhiññā power in order to understand all the processes. Because the Buddha, he knew the nature of how things work, but maybe not in the moment of his enlightenment, but with his full enlightenment, that knowledge comes together. So he can know exactly how mind and matter works. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And I would like to have another one, if it's okay. Yeah. It's let's say there's not an enlightened being, but possesses abhiññās, and then let's say that being a monk, for example, would have a monk friend who already has enlightenment. And let's say that monk friend is in a Phala attainment, and that monk observes the mind of the other monk in Phala. Would he not understand what he sees? Or because practically he would take the Phala mind of the other monk as the object, no?
Yes.
And would he understand that, or what would he simply see the jhana factors of that Phala and see that it's a peaceful abiding?
As far as I remember, it is not possible for a being who has not yet attained enlightenment to take the Lokuttara Citta as object.
Okay.
This I thought this abhiññā can be obtained prior to enlightenment, right? Even Buddha, I had this capabilities. I mean, this kind of knowledge even prior to enlightenment, while he was practicing jhanas, right?
Sure. Like this Abhiññā knowledge is not necessarily connected with enlightenment. So a person who practices samatha meditation, then he has attained all the jhana and he practiced Abhiññā, that it is possible.
Yeah, I think even Sariputta and Moggallana had, for example, Moggallana had a Iddhipada even prior to he came to Buddha, right? And similarly, Sariputta had
before he got enlightened. Yeah, many cases in the suttas you can find many cases. It is possible. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, any other question concerning?
I think even Devadatta had special power.
Yes, Devadatta had all this skill. Yeah.
Now, to attain the Abhiññā, what is necessary to be done is that the person must practice the fifth Rupa Jhana process as a process of preliminary process. So he enter into the fifth Rupa Vachara Jhana, and then he will stay there for as much as time as necessary. Then after that, as usual, a mind reviewing process will arise, because always after Nirodha-samāpatti process, the reviewing process always happened after that. So then there will be a kamavachara, mind door process, reviewing that jhana. Then after that, the kamavachara jhana another mind door process will arise, and this is the basic process to resolve for the action. So in this mind door process, the person, he will make his resolution, what he wants to do. So for example, he said, may I see the Devariyam? Or he said, may I become 100 or 1,000 identical beings? But that is not separated from himself. Like he can create forms or whatever he wants to do, then he make a resolution here. Or may I be able to walk on water or anything, yeah? So he made a resolution in this process. And after that, again, he has to practice enter the fifth Rupa Vachara Jhana, which is the basic process for the Abhiññā process. And after emerging from there, then he will again have a reviewing process of that. And after that, then Abhiññā Viti will arise. So that will be Bhanga Manodwara Vajana, Parikama Upachara Anuloma Gotrabu, and Abhiññā Chitta will arise for only once. This Abhiññā is super powerful. It arises only once, and it is sufficient for the person to accomplish what he wants to do. And so it does not need to arise like for many times, only once. So Abhiññā arises and it falls back to Bhavanga. And then another mind door process will arise in him, and then he might do whatever he wants to do. Say the person, let's say he wants to walk on water, let's say. So in the resolution, then he made the resolution of that. Then after the Abhiññā process, Abhiññā only arises once, right? But walking in the water, it takes, he may walk in the water for 10 minutes, yeah? So during that period of time, what happened? So there is no Abhiññā, it doesn't happen anymore. So it's, my teacher said it's like a switch. So that Abhiññā Chitta, like it's like a switch on the Abhiññā power. And then usual Kamavachara mind door process will arise in him. Then he can talk to other people. Then he can walk and he can perform what he wanted to do. He can walk on water for that much of time. And whenever he doesn't need to use that power anymore, then it just ceased. He just ceased to perform that special activity, let's say. So the process of Abhiññā is more or less in this way. And we can see first, the person has to enter the fifth Rupa Vachara Jhana process as a basis for the preliminary process. Then there will be a reviewing process. Then there will be another mind door process to resolve of what he wants to do. Then there will be another reviewing process, and then that will be the Abhiññā process. Then he will have to enter the fifth Rupa Vachara Jhana again before the Abhiññā process. So 6 type of process here. Now, a few weeks ago, Edith asked a question of why it is that in the reviewing process, there is only 5 jhavana, right? So now, actually, for the performance of Abhiññā, the mind has to be very fast. So therefore, he cannot spend time on the reviewing for 7 jhavanas. So therefore, the reviewing process here is only 5 jhavana. It is said that for the Buddha, it's only 4 jhavana. 4 jhavanas, yes, 4 jhavanas, and then he will go to another process, and then again the 4 jhavana. Do you remember the twin miracle that the Buddha performed? I think maybe all of you have heard about that. Then the Buddha, when he went back to his hometown after enlightenment to teach his relatives, then he performed a twin miracle well, the Buddha never do anything that is not necessary, no? It is because that when he went back to his hometown, the people already knew him from the past. So people have an idea of Prince Siddhartha, right? So, but now he is no more the old Prince Siddhartha. He is the Buddha. He is a totally enlightened being. But people have idea, oh, he was my cousin, or, you know, like he is, or this little child that was there, or like this. So in order to impress them, to let them know that now he is really the Buddha, he has attained all this power, he performed a twin miracle for the beings in order for them to arise sada, no? To arise faith and confidence in him and in the teaching. So he performed what is twin miracle? Twin miracle is to make fire appear from one part of his body and water appear on another part of his body at the same time, no? Like, well, at the same time, like very quickly, one after the other, no? So let's say the upper part of his body, like fire will arise, and the lower part of his body, water will arise. So he did this twin miracle. It's very difficult because, like, only for, like, if only fire, then it will be okay. If only water, that will be okay. But it looks like fire and water come up at the same time is something very impressive. And for this Abhiññā, the Buddha, he had to go through this process again and again. First, he has to go through this first process, the reviewing, very quickly. So because he has to go into the next process and that process. And this Abhiññā, then he decides that he has to, okay, may water come up from the lower part of my body. So at that time, after that, then he has to enter into the Vijnana and complete all this process. And then again, may fire come up from the upper part of my body. Then he does that, he enter, come out, and then he does that very, very quickly in his mind in order to keep fire and water coming out from his body to perform this Abhiññā, this twin miracle that is called. So for that, the reviewing process cannot be long. So even the 1 jhavana, 2 jhavana counts. So that goes really, really quickly. For the Buddha, only 4 jhavanas at a time. Well, I mentioned this only to complement the answer that was given previously about why the reviewing process is only 5 jhavana instead of 7. Okay, so that's about the Abhiññā process. Let's take a little break here. So after 5 minutes, coming back, then we will look at a little bit more of other information. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so today we have talked about Nirodha-samāpatti, and also we have talked about the Abhiññā process. And so before we continued with another type of process, there are some extra information that I like to talk about. This is about Pali and the English translation because of the Idivida, this power, the supernormal power that we have because of this Pali word. Now let's take a look. Idivida, we translated like the usual translation or the meaning is like various supernormal power. And then maybe you have heard about this word called Idipada. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at the Pali. Idi it actually means accomplishment. Now, vida means various kind of. So vida is various kind of accomplishment, while in the word pada, means accomplishment, and pada means means or base. Yeah. So just looking at this Pali word at the moment, accomplishment, vida various kind, pada means by means of what, the means or the base, no? So vida, this word, we can translate it into various kind of accomplishment, to accomplish something. And pada usually can be translated as a means of accomplishment. Yeah. So what exactly is pada? Now, pada, this word, it will come again in chapter 7 when we go ahead in the Abhidhamma Sangaha. It will come up. And in many sutta, it will also come up. So now, according to the book Fundamental Abhidhamma of Venerable Sayadaw Dr. Nandamala Biwamsa, there's a short table, small table. This book is very good because it is like a note, like a very short note. And so inside there is a lot of lists and a lot of things. And sometimes if I don't remember something exactly what it was, then if I look at the book quickly, then we will find what it is. So pada, in ultimate reality, what is it? The means of accomplishment, pada, is actually divided into 4. What are they? They are the chandi pada, so the wish to do is a means of accomplishment. Then we have viriya pada, the effort, that it's a means of accomplishment. Then we have chitti dipada, so the chitta, which is a means of accomplishment, and vimamsa dipada, investigation, that is the means. The vimamsa, this in ultimate reality, this investigation is actually panya, wisdom. So we have chanda cetasika, viriya cetasika, chitta itself, vijnana, and vimamsa is panya, no? So these 4, why are they called means of accomplishment? Because whatever we need to do, whatever we want to do, these ingredients is necessary in order for us to accomplish something, to be successful in something, not only for jhana and abhiññā, direct knowledge, and so, but for anything, we need this kind of strong wish to do, strong effort. The mind must also vijnana, chitta itself must also be strong. Then we have to have panya. So for any accomplishment, we need these 4. So therefore, these 4 are called the means of accomplishment. This pada, you will find it a lot in suttas. It's also come up. Now, taking an example, in the Samyutta Nikaya, the Vibhanga Sutta, I took an example from internet, the translated version. So just let's look at this comparison here. So chatarome bhikkhave pada bhavita bahulikata mahaphala honti mahanisamsa. So the translation here, it is mendicants, actually monks, no? When the 4 bases of psychic power are developed and cultivated, they are very fruitful and beneficial. So you see this pada here is being translated as the basis of psychic power, which is a little bit misleading in a way. Yeah. So let's look at another translation, Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation from the Samyutta Nikaya. So in Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, he says, because these 4 bases for spiritual power, when developed, cultivated, are of great fruit and benefit. He translated pada as the 4 bases of spiritual power. Right. So sometimes translated as the psychic power also. So depending, if we only read the English translation of the suttas, then sometimes it can be confusing depending on which translation, which version we are looking at. Sometimes these words, we might have doubt, what does it actually means? Because if we just read this one, they will say, developing the basis for psychic power, then it's very fruitful and very beneficial. Then we might think that the Buddha encouraged us to develop abhiññā here. Yeah, but actually he's talking about what we just saw right now, the 4 types of accomplishment, right? Iddhipada. The definition of iddhipada, what was it? It was viriya, chitta, vimamsa, and also chanda, no? So these 4 things is very different from abhiññā. totally different. Now, even if we look at the Pali Dictionary online, if I type Iddhipada, it also come up basis of psychic power in the concise Pali English dictionary. So sometimes when we look at the suttas, I really do suggest that if you have some doubt about some words, like you don't really know what it wants to say, then go back to the Pali version and see what the exact word is being used. Then with the Pali word, then we have more possibility to find out what exactly was being said in the sutta. No, so here, as you can see, then Iddhipada is a means of accomplishment. It means the 4 things that we have just seen. So it's totally, we can say, nothing to do with the Abhiññā here. But if we see the translation as the basis of psychic power, then it might lead to misunderstanding. So therefore, it is very necessary that we go back and look at the Pali word. And with the study of the Abhidhamma, in chapter 7, we have a lot of this ultimate reality of different items that you can find in the sutta, which is really, really good. Then, for example, in the sutta, you see a lot of dhatu elements. What are elements actually? What does actually elements? What does it mean? What kind of elements are there? And so in this chapter 7, then it will list ultimate reality of this word, what is exactly there. So this is how the study of Abhidhamma is going to help us understand sutta better. So this is very important, I think. So let's continue a little bit. Now, previously, we have talked a little bit about the Patisandhi, the rebirth linking consciousness, the life continuum, Bhavanga, and Chuti, Chitta. If you still remember, we said that these 3 types of different functions are performed by the same type of chitta, remember? So here, in the graphic, if you see these apples, I want to represent a fruit, like a vipaka chitta, so resultant consciousness. So we know that rebirth linking and Bhavanga and Chuti, they are all the same type of resultant consciousness that comes from, produced by a previous karma, a karma that is done in a previous life. So let's say in the previous life, this person, she performed some kind of kusala action, and that leads to a rebirth as a human being in this lifetime. So that karma produced this rebirth linking consciousness, rebirth linking resultant consciousness, right? And the same type of resultant consciousness will continue to arise in this person throughout his lifetime as Bhavanga Chitta, and as well as the last moment of this lifetime, which is the Chuti Chitta, the death consciousness, will also be of the same type. So now here you see the apple have a different color here, right? So because these type of consciousness or Vipaka Chitta, where did it come from? It came from the again another previous life, right? Previous life of this person, yeah. So therefore this Chuti Chitta, it has the same type of consciousness, resultant consciousness that is result of her past life, yeah. So they are different in this type of throughout one lifetime. Patisandhi, Bhavanga, and Chuti will be of the same type of consciousness. Now, say this person is to be reborn again now as a human being, let's say. So at the time of the rebirth linking, whatever he has performed, depending on the karma that he performed in this lifetime or even in previous lifetime, if it gives result as rebirth consciousness in the human realm, in this case, then this Patisandhi Chitta, another type of resultant consciousness, will arise here, which will be the same type of Chitta that performs the Bhavanga function and Chuti function for this being. No, until here. This is what we have talked about already previously. I hope you still remember. And okay, no question here, right? All clear, yeah? Okay, so let's continue. Now, when this person, now let's take a look at the object. We have also talked about this, but just as a revision, let's remember. The object of Patisandhi and Bhavanga Chitta of this present life is karma, karma nimitta, or gati nimitta, right? So the karma done, or the sign of the karma, or the sign of the destination, which this object, where does it come from? It comes from the last process of the past life, right? So this javana of this past life will take one of these as object, and then this object will be the object also of those resultant consciousness of patisandhi and bhavanga of this lifetime, of this present lifetime. As well as this chuti, we will also take this same object, yeah, the object of this karma nimitta or gati nimitta. Now, for a future lifetime, in this dying process of this present lifetime of this person, then the object being taken by this javana will be either a karma or karma nimitta or gati nimitta, depending on what is happening, well, depending on which karma is going to give result for his next rebirth. Yeah. So this dying process, this object here will be the same object for the patisandhi and all the bhavanga throughout the life of this person. That will be the object of that person. Yeah. Okay. So I think until here, it's all clear. Now, death and rebirth mental process, the Maranasana-viti and Patisandhi-viti, is not always necessarily a human reborn as a human, right? It is also possible that being can be reborn into any of the different realms. If this person, she practiced jhana during her lifetime, then if she keep the jhana intact throughout her life, then she might be reborn into the fine material realm or the non-material realm. That is possible. Or if she has done a lot of generosity, her morality is very good, he has been a very good person and helping others, she might be able to be reborn into the deva realms. Or some other kind of kusala that she has done, then she can be reborn again into the human realm as well. Or if she has done some like bad karma, akusala, then those akusala can bring her also to the four lower realms. It is also possible. So where this person is going to be reborn next depends very much on the karma. Now let's take a look at the process itself. Now taking an example, say this person is to be reborn as a human being again. As an example. Now let's see what happens in the last process. Now in this lifetime, the last process, say it's a mind or mental process, let's say in this time. So this dying process, this death mental process is Maranasana-viti is a mind or process, let's say in this case. So Manodavara jhana, then 5 javana will arise, and immediately after that, a chuti chitta will arise. So the death consciousness will arise. And after that, immediately what happens is that the patisandhi, the rebirth linking consciousness will arise immediately after chuti in the next chitta. So what's important here is we have to know that chuti and patisandhi, chuti arise and passes away immediately, patisandhi will arise. So there is no waiting room. So there is no transit. So sometimes some people say that, oh, maybe there is some space and the person wait for 7 days or whatever, and then he go to another life. But according to the Abhiññā in the Theravada's teaching, after chuti, immediately patisandhi will arise. So there is no space in between these two chitta. So one after the other immediately. So if this person is to be reborn as a human, then he go directly from human to human immediately. If he was to be reborn into the Deva realm, then from that dying from the human life, then immediately he goes to the Deva realm. Or if he's going to the lower realm, then immediately he will be reborn there. So where are we going? That depends very much on the karma ticket that we have. So this depends on what we are doing right now, no? Okay, so karma, what is karma? Karma is actually action. So it depends on our kusala and our akusala. So where is our next destination? That very much depends on ourselves, right? Okay, so important thing here is there is no waiting room, no transit in the airport. So immediately we will go to the next life, immediately in the next chitta. All right. Now, in this process, in this dying process, it is also possible to have other variations. Let's say now this is a mind or mental process, right? So another variation will be after the jhavanas, it's possible that one bhavanga arise before Chuti Chitta arise. That is also possible. And depending on the object that is being taken by the mind of this person, it is possible also after jhavana, tadaramana, to tadaramana, and then Chuti. That's also another variation also possible. It is also possible that after two tadaramana, one bhavanga, and then Chuti. That's also another possibility. So depending on the cases, that will be the different types of dying process. Now, dying process is not only limited to mind door. It is also possible to die with a 5-door mental process. So let's say this time, let's say an I-door process. So Panchadwara Avajana, then Chaku Vijnana, the usual Sampatichana, Santirana, then the Vattabhana, then 5 jhavana, taking the present visible object as object, and then Chuti. That's also possible. And now, what about this? We're talking about a human being, right? A human being. So 5-door process for a human being is possible. But if, let's say, if it is a being who, a Rupa being, the being who died from the Rupa plane, let's say, in that cases, for them, the 5-door process is also possible, but only I-door, E-door. Because as you know that they don't have Gana, Jiva, and Kaya. So nose, tongue, and body is not available there, no? So these processes will not arise in them. So if this Rupa being die in a 5-sense door process, it will either be an I-door process or E-door process. Okay, this is just a little bit of extra information. Let's go back to human being first. Okay, for a human being, 5-door process is possible. So in that case, that will be 5-door process, 5 jhavana, Chuti immediately, or one bhavanga before Chuti. That's another variation. Or it can also be with tadaramana, depending on the object. So jhavana, 5 jhavana, tadaramana, then Chuti, then patisandhi, also possible. Another variation would be jhavana, 5 jhavana, tadaramana, bhavanga, and then Chuti. So those are the variations for the dying process if it is a 5-door process. Okay, so most of the being die with the 9-door process most of the time. That's the most common cases. But there are also cases that people die with 5-door process. That is also a possibility. Now, the object of this jhavana during the dying process, as we know, is it will take either karma, a karma that is going to give results, something that the person did maybe in that lifetime or in a previous lifetime, or it will take the object of that karma, or it will take an object that is related to the karma that is going to give result. So maybe, let's say, an instrument that the person, let's say this person, let's say she was a nurse during her lifetime. So maybe she has helped a lot of different people. So maybe that karma is going to give her rebirth. Or maybe those instruments that is related to that karma that she has done. So that might be also be taken as sign of karma nimitta, that might also be taken as the object of this dying process. Or it could be a destination, so where she is going to be reborn next. So she might see the next, the place where she's going to be reborn. So these jhavanas here will take one of these 3 as the object. Now, obviously, these objects that is being taken in this jhavana is not happening at that moment, right? So this jhavana is important, but they are only important in terms of they help the karma that was done previously to give result. So what I want to say is that the result that of the next rebirth is not directly being given by these jhavanas themselves. Because in the last dying moment, the person is not doing anything. It's just dying, So at that moment, she cannot perform anything. So it's not what is being done in the last process, but these jhavanas helps previous karma to give result. Do I make myself clear? Do you understand? So that is not like last moment what the person did in the last moment, not that. But those last moments give conditions for a past karma to give result, right? So not what the person do during the last moment, but something that he or she has done during his or her lifetime, previous time, right? Okay. So this is, let's say, a mind door process. Now, how about, let's say, here it should be sota, no? This is, let's say, music or something. So let's say a chanting or something that she is taking in the last dying process, in the, let's say, ear door process. So during here should be sota viññāna, so S instead of C. Sorry about that. So in that case, this jhavana might take present five sense object, let's say a chanting or a melody or something that is related to the karma that she had done or that is about to give result. So in that case, that will be a karma nimitta, or as we said, the instrument, or maybe something that she used to use to help others for that karma. Or it could also be, let's say, a Buddha statue that she used to pay respect every morning. And she saw that in the idol process, and that was the last object that she takes. That is also possible. So now for the five door process, if it is a present object that it is being taken, then usually that is a sign of karma. That's not karma exactly, and it's also not the destination, right? So it is a karma nimitta will be taken as object if it is a five door process. Okay, until here, is it clear? Yeah. Okay, so it's a lot of information. In order to digest, I think it is necessary to look at the material a few times. So now I'm just explaining like how it goes. So the good thing is that we have video. So later on, if you have time, I do encourage you to go back to the video and look at the material, look at the slides again, and to slowly digest all the processes, like what happened. But also not that seriously. We're not having exams or anything. So if you just want to have an idea of how mind works, then just only by listening and have an idea of what happens when a person dies and the rebirth, then that is also good enough. So just to know, it is a little bit not possible to grasp all the information all at once by listening only once. Yeah? So again and again, we have to read and listen and check again. Okay, anyway, so we'll continue a little bit. Now, let's see. Okay, so after that, taking the example again with this lady to be reborn as another person. So until here, Chuti is one lifetime that we call past life. That's the dying process, the last process. Let's say it's mind door process here, Maranasana Viti. And then from Patisandhi, from that time on, it is called a present life. From Patisandhi, right? So after Patisandhi happens, then what's next? What will come after that? Then immediately after death consciousness, Patisandhi will arise. And after that, 15 or 16 Bhavanga Citta will arise. After that, there will be a first mind door mental process, the first mental process of any being. That will be a Bhava Nikantika Viti, it is called. Now I will explain a little bit more what it is. But what happens after Patisandhi is 15 or 16 Bhavanga will arise. And then after that, the first mental process. Now this process is called Bhava Nikantika Viti, which is the very first mental process of this present lifetime. And very interestingly, these jhavanas here is always lobha, unfortunately. But yes, it happens like that. So So we can understand also this Javana, what Loba about what? About existence, about craving for this existence. And what does this Javana takes as object actually? So because Patisandhi just arised, so it is just the very beginning of a lifetime. And what happens in the being is that it takes the Patisandhi Chitta and its associated Cetasika and the Rupa, if it is a 5, of course, if it is a 5 aggregate being, so with Rupa, also the Karma born Rupa, it takes this as object and cling to it, attached to this new life. So that's the first, very first mental process of any being that is reborn. I asked my teacher that even if a person is born as an animal or as in the hell, then they still crave or they still have loba to that life, even it's not such a good life. And then yes, it actually we all cling to, attach to whatever life it may be in the very first process. We want to exist. So yeah, so that's the very first mental process of any being. So bhava nikantika viti. Okay. Now, until here, do you have any question? All good? Okay. So let's continue a little bit. Now, after this present lifetime, we have to explain about what happened if the person is to be reborn as to into a human being or other types of being, right? Then how about if a person is to be reborn as an asanyasata, non-perceiving being? So suppose no chitta will arise here, no, because this being only have rupa. So what happened to them? Okay, so let's take a look at the dying process of asanyasata. Now, after, let's say this person in her lifetime, she practiced the fourth, all the Rupa Vachara Jhana, and then with the idea that mind is making trouble. So I don't like to have mind. So because the mind, samadhi and mind is so powerful, so strong, then after that lifetime, with that jhana, then she will be reborn into the asanya sata realm. So this is a type of Brahma that only has rupa and without any chitta. So in that case, for them, what happened is that after Juti Chitta, immediately what arises is rupa, what we call a rupa patisandhi. So it is actually not chitta here. You see, it's a square. So I made a little bit difference here. What arises here immediately after Chuti is actually a Jivita Navaka Kalapa. So it will be a rupa will arise without chitta. That rupa, what kind of rupa is that? That kind of rupa is a basic rupa together with life faculty. So Jivita Navaka Kalapa. So this Kalapa that is of 9 elements, which is usually the Avini Boga, the inseparables, together with life faculty. It will arise in the asanyasata. A few weeks ago, Alpad had made a question on YouTube about the asanyasata, whether they have the heart base or not. So actually, for asanyasata, they do not have any basis because no chitta will arise in him. So he does not need any heart base, right? So eye base, ear base, nose base, and all those is of no use to him. Because if there is no Chaku Vinyana, no eye consciousness, no ear consciousness, then he will not be able to listen to anything or see anything anyway. So, why does he need an eye? No eye sensitivity. So all this will not arise in an asanyasata being. So they are basically very much like a statue, only with the Jivita Navaka Kalapa arising in the person. Okay, now, so no chitta arise now after this chuti that is stopped, ceased for a moment. Then what happened after this lifetime? Maybe 500, I think it was 500 kappas or something. And after such a long time, what happened when he's to die from that lifetime as an asanyasata? what happened here is the chuti will arise, but there is no chitta again. This chuti again, you see, is a square. It does not mean the real chuti chitta. It's just the death of the asaññasata being is actually the ceasing of the arising of the kamaja rupa. So the karma is completed. So no more this type of kamaja rupa arise in him, and all are ceased, and then that marks the death of this asaññasata being. And what happened next is that a patisandhi chitta will arise for his immediately future life. No, so for example, if this person is to be reborn, let's say as a human being, or any other type of being, so this patisandhi chitta will arise here immediately after all the kamaja, or after all the karma produced material property has ceased from this lifetime. Then again, after patisandhi, the usual process will arise, like 15 to 16 bhavanga chitta will arise, and the bhavanikantika process will arise. Say this person, asaññasata, is to be reborn as a human being. So the first mental process, again, he will take the patisandhi chitta together with the cetasikas and the karma born rupa of this human being as object with lobha. He will take for this first process. Okay, now how about the object of this patisandhi chitta? Yeah, so what happens here? Well, what is the object of that? Sorry, this animation here is okay. Yeah, I wanted to show this one. Okay, what happens here? Because here to here, you see there is nothing here in this lifetime. So what is this patisandhi going to take as object for this? Okay, now here, throughout this time, it's very interesting here. The next chitta that arises after chuti is patisandhi, but one lifetime, or almost one lifetime, is skipped. No. So after such a long time, then after chuti, immediately, again, the next chitta that arises is patisandhi again. Now, this patisandhi chitta will take the object of an indefinitely effective karma, particular karma that was done in this past life, or very any kind of previous life that throughout samsara will give result. But it is with a strong support by the chitana of the what we call upachara bhavana, which is the neighborhood concentration, neighborhood, let's say the meditation that this person has done, but not exactly that jhana, because if that jhana give result, she will be reborn into asaññasata again, no? So not that, but it is supported by that very strong bhavana, very strong development or meditation, some kind of kusala chitta that he or she has done in a previous life will give result for this patisandhi. So it will take the karma nimitta or gati nimitta that is related to that infinitely effective karma. Is it clear? So that means the karma that is going to give result for this lifetime can be from this life or any previous past life that is still valid, no? That is still valid. Will give result for this particular lifetime. Now, in chapter 5, we're going to talk about karma, and also we are going to talk about what kind of karma expires, when does it expire, or there are some karma that does not expire. It is indefinitely valid until the person attained full enlightenment, no? Until then. So there are some karma that can give result anytime if conditions are fulfilled. So one of those kind of karma will give result here. And in this case, if he or she is to be reborn as well, actually, no he or she here, because it's does not have male or female for this type of being. So this being, if is to be reborn as human in this case, then some kusala chitta, kusala karma of the past will give result for the being to be reborn as a human in this case. Okay, so it sounds a little bit complicated, but actually I don't think it's too difficult to understand. Until here, do you have any question? Yes, Edith?
So the object for this new life after Abhiññā existence can be totally new karma. Like it's not necessarily related to the previous existence from the Abhiññā existence.
It can be any kind of karma, but it is supported very strongly. It is related, is very strongly supported by the upachara bhavana, the neighborhood, like not exactly the jhana, but that type of like very strong meditation that the person has practiced in this lifetime. So the chitana of this lifetime will support that any type of karma, let's say kusala karma in this case, the kusala karma to give result here. It's not directly, it might not be from this lifetime, that karma that gave result, but it's supported by this lifetime.
And you also like just a little bit touched upon if any karma can be exhausted or not. Like, is there a short answer to that question? Can a particular karma be exhausted completely? For example, if it gave a rebirth, for example.
Now, very quickly, I can mention, like, remember then when we do any kusala or akusala karma, usually there are seven jhavanas in that time. Yeah. Okay. So, invalid karma, like expired karma, is called ahosi karma. No. So remember, when we do one good deed, let's say we help someone, or we serve our parents, or we help some elderly people, then maybe we help them for 10 minutes. So throughout that 10 minutes, then billions and billions and billions of kusala chitta arise in the mind. All those jhavanas, they can give result. So therefore, it is not like one karma give one result. It can give a lot of results, right? Now, concerning these 7 jhavana, we will talk about it with more details in chapter 5. But quickly, the first jhavana here, if it is to give result, it can only give result in the present life. So it will not give a result in. It cannot give because it is still weak. No, you see, it is not still building up. So it does not have the power yet. It will give result in the present life. So it will not give result as a rebirth consciousness. It's not powerful enough. And if I remember correctly, yeah. The second one is possible to give result in the next life.
It's the last one.
Right. The one in the middle. Yeah. Right. Yes. Thanks for reminding. Yes. So this one, the first one is powerful enough to, it's not powerful enough. So it can only give result in this lifetime. And the middle 5 one can give result indefinitely throughout samsara anytime. And then the last one can give result in only in the next life. So if it does not give result in the next life, it expires. Yeah. So thanks for reminding. I was confused here. Okay. So in any action that we do, so many process happen. So basically, since these 5 jhavanas can give result indefinitely, so it's kind of like cannot escape, no? So basically, only the first and the last one can expire in the next life or in this lifetime. So, but still there are so many. So basically, we may say that all kind of kusala and akusala is possible to give result whenever condition is favorable.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And anyone else? Any other question? No. Okay, so here I have also prepared another other types of dying process, but I think it's too much for today, so we'll leave it for next week. This is also a question that Alpar posted in in YouTube some time ago, asking about parinibbana. So let's say if a person, let's say this lady, let's say she attained final nibbana, arhatship in this lifetime, what happened? There will be no more future life, right? So what are the objects of this jhana? What happens in this last process if she is to attain parinibbana? So concerning the parinibbana process, which is the last life, then we will look at it. There are different variations also, so we'll look at it next week. Okay, so if you have no more questions, then we will stop here. And so we will share merits and also dedicate our effort for the attainment of Nibbana. Okay, let's recite together. Itam no punyam Nibbanasa pacheyo hotu. Itam no punyam Nibbanasa pacheyo hotu. Itam no punyam Nibbanasa pacheyo hotu. Itam no punyam savasatanam bhajima. Itam no punyam savasatanam bhajima. Itam no punyam savasatanam bhajima. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you everyone, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye.